All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another Tim Talks Christian Rock. We continue on here with the interview series, and I am so pleased today to welcome on the show two of the excellent band members of We Are Resolute, also known as W.A.R. Today, we've got Bryan Carman and John Mokma on. I can't wait to talk with these guys. There is some great stuff to talk about here. Today, they've got 3 albums out with a 4th one on the way. And y'all, this is just going to be fun. We're going to have a blast today talking with these guys. So let's welcome on, without further ado, Bryan and John. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Where did each of you guys grow up, and how did you end up meeting?
I grew up in Holland, Hamilton area in Michigan. And pretty much my whole life in that same area.
Michigan area. Okay. And Bryan, what about you?
Well, I was born in Rochester, Michigan, but my parents divorced and moved with my mom down to Florida in basically the Tampa Bay area, Port Richey, Florida. So that's why I'm a Buccaneer fan.
Hey, look at that. I love that. Nice. Well, I know a little bit about Michigan. I actually did an internship in college in Frankenmuth, Michigan I was there about 4 months, I guess, for a college internship. But I have fond memories of that little German town there, I think.
Did you go to the cheese house?
The cheese house. No, what did I do? I remember they had the world's biggest Christmas store there. It's like 2 football fields long. And then there's the 2 chicken restaurants owned by families across the street from each other. I think it was Zender's, and I can't remember the name of the other place. But so how did you guys ultimately end up meeting?
We went to what was then called Emmanuel Baptist Church in Holland, Michigan. And then it moved and became Emmanuel Church. But we were in the same adult Sunday school class and found out that we both like rock and roll. So just said, hey, you need to come over one day. And so he was in secular bands before he became a Christian. And so he wasn't up to Whitecross and Bloodgood and Guardian and all those kind of bands. So he came over to my house one afternoon. I think we ate a little lunch and sat in front of my stereo and just popped CDs in and just had a great time.
I think Stryper was about the only Christian band I was ever really, I shouldn't say into, but like, oh yeah, those guys are Christian. They're pretty good, you know. Listening to videos and stuff growing up.
About what year was this that you guys met?
We started the band in 2001. Yeah. So it was early 90s.
Yeah.
Early 90s. Okay.
Because I moved up to Michigan from Florida in 1990.
Okay.
And we started, my wife and I were one of the 2 or 3 couples that started a brand new class for young married people. Because my wife and I got married in 88, and they didn't really have, at that time, a Sunday school class for people that were just married. Okay. So we started that class, and we got to know him and his wife, Julie.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because, I can share about it.
Yeah.
Okay. They got divorced for about 9 years.
Okay.
And then they were still in contact, and he was always like doing projects and stuff for her. And I'm like, what are you staying with her for? But it's a good thing they did because I got ordained and I married him and his wife.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Yep. And so before that, my brother Kurt and his fiance came up from Georgia, and I married them. So
wow.
I performed 2 weddings.
That's really cool. Well, let's talk about some of your you guys' musical influences. I know you just mentioned, of course, Stryper and listen to some Christian rock, and John coming from a little more secular background. But what were some of the bands, secular or Christian, or albums even, that y'all were listening to that were influential for y'all early on?
Well, before I became a Christian, I was into all the Aerosmith, Kiss, Black Sabbath, Foghat, CCR, Van Halen, Rush.
All the classics.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I remember when we lived in Lake Orion, Michigan as a kid, we would hear Black Sabbath coming down the road. And I'm like, Mom, give me some money. She goes, why? The ice cream man's coming. And this guy looked like, he had the long hair, looked like what people look like Jesus.
Yeah.
And he was really cool. And so we always had ice cream, but that guy didn't play the ding-a-ling-ling-a-ling music. He played the heavy metal stuff. It was really cool. But then I became a believer and found out about Stryper.
Yeah.
And then Whitecross, Guardian, and Petra was my first concert at the Welsh Auditorium on the Beyond Belief in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That was awesome.
John, what about you? Some of the albums or musical influences for you?
When I was young, I started playing drums. I would just play whatever I could play with.
Yeah.
Whatever music I could. But one of the biggest influences me, and it's kind of funny. I got my first record from my brother. It was Boston, Don't Look Back.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only album I had. I played that A-side, B-side over and over and just played along with it before I started getting into the school band and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boston, and my mom, she listened to all the Aerosmith and the Beatles and Elvis, all kinds of stuff. So I had that always in the house, and I kind of gravitated more towards like Boston and Def Leppard and even like Quiet Riot and maybe a little Ozzy Osbourne, but I thought he's bad, you know. Everybody thought that back then. Kansas, Styx.
You mentioned how you kind of got into drumming a little bit. Was that something you just knew you wanted to do right from the beginning and you kind of went for it, or did that develop more over time?
No, it's funny. I was with my father. He took me out for supper, and we saw this little thing on the bulletin board of this restaurant. It said, "Drum set for sale, $20." Mm. I said, "Dad, will you get that for me?" I'm like, he didn't buy me a drum set, so he bought that for me. It was a little kid set. It was the bass drum, and then it had the other drums screwed to the bass drum and one cymbal in the middle. So cool, I got a drum set. And well, my older sister's boyfriend came over, and he really was a drummer, and I really wasn't yet. And he played my little drum set and broke all the heads on it. And then Mom felt bad because my little piece of junk drum set was all busted up. So she bought me a real one.
Nice.
My parents were divorced at this, but so yeah, my first drum set was a Whitehall. Wow, it was a 4-piece, and I played that for just years and years and years without a hi-hat. I had a crash and a ride, and that was it. Until I finally got a paper out and could start getting some stuff for it,
right?
Which was a long time. But yeah, I played in a high school band, and it took a while for me to finally find my spot where I could fit in. But once I did, it was so much fun.
That's fantastic.
But I wasn't one of the popular guys in school. I didn't know what I was going to do with the drums until I started to get better at it, to where I'm like, wow, I could really do this. And there was a point in my life where I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a drummer for.
Thank God for that.
But,
yeah, Brian's glad.
Things change, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to be a drummer for a living. I'm going to have to work, Yeah.
Now, were you self-taught pretty much, or did you ever do any training or anything?
Oh yeah, I went to, all through school. I was in the drum section at school. In the school bands.
Oh yeah.
Concert band, marching band, jazz band, all that stuff. I did it all.
Nice.
And I was like the marching band because we could be loud and obnoxious, and they loved it.
And this is a quiet guy.
Really?
Not behind the drum set, though.
That's where it matters, right?
I'm the shy guy.
Yep. The shy guy.
I'm the mouth of the band.
There you go. There you go. Well, John, one other question here. What, who are some of the drummers that really influenced you, especially as you started playing and you found yourself listening to more?
I tried to play so much Boston because that was the only music I had. So right away, I got to say Sip from Boston,
Yeah.
But for a while, I really was in the Motley Crue. I don't really like what they stood for back in the 90s. So
right.
I like to play real heavy like Tommy Lee for a long time.
Yeah.
But I kind of got away from them just because I didn't like what they were all about.
Right. Yeah.
But my playing style a lot is kind of like him.
Yeah. But
I think I'm more technical, like, a Sib or something like that. But
yeah.
But I just like to play classic rock, whether it was Def Leppard, Quiet Riot, whatever. Yeah. If it had a good hook, I wanted to play it.
Well, Brian, let's switch over to you. So tell me how you got into, playing and how you kind of decided on, an instrument to play too. What kind of gravitated to the top for you?
Well, when I was a kid, you know those Kiss makeup kits? Remember that from the day?
I remember that.
Day?
Yeah.
One Halloween, my friend comes over, Charlie Flatt. I don't even know if he's alive. I don't know where he's at. But he dressed up as Gene Simmons, and guess who I got to pick? Ace Frehley. So we actually took old tennis shoes, got 2x4s, cut them to the size of my shoe, nailed like 4 of them together, put spray painted silver cardboard and stapled it around.
Yeah.
And we actually did the makeup and made our own homemade suits. And it was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure we took second place in a contest for
awesome.
Halloween. I always had dreams like I'd wake up and I was playing guitar, and then I was so bummed when I woke up because I don't know how to play guitar then. But when I was 35, was around the age that John said to me one day at my house, if you buy a guitar, I'll teach you a couple things. And then he always says,
it's all my fault.
Because he went to Florida, I think it was, on a vacation. And when he came back, I called him and said, hey, John, I bought a guitar. And he's probably like, oh, crap. That's how it started. Our first concert was at the Ottawa County Fairgrounds, and boy, did we suck.
It start somewhere.
Takes an honest
talk about
person to admit it.
Yeah. Oh, man. The only one that knew what he was doing was him. Up on stage. The rest of us were all like wet behind the ears and freaking out. And I was terrified. We got beat by a country band. But I'm self-taught. I just drove my wife, my then wife, crazy with, hey, Candy, listen to this. And she's like, I have been for the last 6 hours. The same 3 chords over and over again. And then when I got bands together, she had to leave. She had to go like shopping or something because we were loud.
Well, then what guitars started to influence you as you started to play? Did that change at all from who you listened to early on, or who became your influences?
By the time I was 35, I was listening to Christian rock.
Yeah.
So I guess there's some things that and there's no way I'm any even close to Eddie Van Halen, but I love the way that they did that. So Whitecross with Rex Carroll playing, I always call him the Christian Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Really was cool. Yeah. But the one that really made me start playing differently was those Rock Theater, the DVDs with Bloodgood, where they acted out all their songs.
Yes.
I got one of those for like $30 at Cornerstone.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because they're out of print.
Yeah, no kidding.
The way Paul Jackson, I always had a hard time trying to do the scales fast, so I can go through the scales and use the pick like this, I saw him doing that, and that just changed everything. Then he showed me how to do power chords, early on. I'm like, power chords are awesome. This is just so much more you can do with a power chord than a regular chord for me anyway. Yeah. For rock and roll. Oh. So Paul Jackson from Bloodgood was a major influence on some of my style that I do.
What about guitars? Any particular type you kind of lean towards these days?
Well, the one that we use to record right now is my Eddie Van Halen 5150 series guitar, and I love it.
Oh, nice.
But before that, I've had Jacksons. And what's the other one the first one I started off with? Well, that was a Jackson too, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I pretty much had Jacksons all the way up until I got my EVH.
Nice. Sweet.
And I play it on a Marshall half stack because it's to our right over here.
Oh, okay. Very, very cool.
I don't think we've ever cranked that up past 7? That thing stinks up. That is loud because I lived in a condo for a lot of years, and I had cool neighbors on either side.
Yeah.
They said we could barely hear it. Just rock on. I'm like, so we did. But I don't think we've ever turned it up past 5 or 6 because that thing just blasts.
One day you'll have to test that.
Well, I can now because I live on an acre. And I have neighbors, but they're not too close, so we'll have to do that.
Yeah, there you go. Try it outside, too. Were you in other bands, before you guys formed We Are Resolute, or was that really the first serious official band you guys did?
I was in a few secular bands before that, but after those were done with Bryan here, was pretty much it. It started with Otherwise Broken, and there was some other names in there.
Yeah, when we first started Otherwise Broken, that's what it became. We were Morning Star. We were a whole bunch of other names I can't even remember right now. They were kind of goofy. But once we settled on Otherwise Broken, it was good. The reason why I changed it is because we had a lot of turnover, and then this guy had to leave because they had kids. So I went through other drummers, and it was funny because whatever drummer came in, I'm like, John Mokma does it better than that. Nobody could live up to him. So my wife got sick with Cushing's disease. And so for a while, I was taking care of her. So I sold everything and stopped music.
Now, what is that? I'm not familiar with Cushing's disease. What is that?
You have a pituitary gland right between your eyes above your nose, and it's about the size of a piece of rice, and it controls your cortisol levels in your body.
Okay.
And you can only have one surgery because everybody dies on the second surgery. So they said it was successful, but they said there was some hemorrhaging, and they weren't sure if they got the whole tumor. And well, about 5 years after we thought she was healed, she goes, Bryan, I think I have it again. And then she just never recovered. And she died March 24th, 2022.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry, Bryan. That's sure.
3 days before her 55th birthday.
Oh, wow. Oh.
We were married 34 years.
Oh, wow. Well, the Lord gave you 34 wonderful years together, and there's that. And
that good little 5 or 6 year period too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, she's in glory. So,
oh man, I'm jealous.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my new love. This is Leah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Even if you can't.
Sure.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. That's a little better. Yeah. How long have you and Leah been together?
A little over 10 months.
10 months. Okay. Fantastic. Well, congrats. We Are Resolute. How did you guys then ultimately form, and why did you decide, like was the intention like we're just gonna form a band, we're just gonna start playing, or was this something that started as we really want to get, serious? We want to develop a serious band, do Christian, albums and things like that. What was kind of the genesis for We Are Resolute?
I was trying to put Otherwise Broken back together after it fell apart, and nothing was working. So I just prayed, Lord, and I don't usually do it this way, but I didn't know how else to pray. I said, I'm going to ask John Mokma if he'll do music again. And if he says yes, you want me to do this. And if he says no, then I'll know and have a peace about it, knowing that I'm not supposed to do it. Well, obviously. It took about 2 weeks, I think you said. Give me a couple weeks. I'll pray about it. And boom. So the next thing you know, he goes, yeah, over the phone. I'm like, okay. And then I forget how the conversation went, but I said, we don't have any equipment. And he goes, oh, I've got a guitar and a little amp. I said, can I borrow that so I can start writing music? And that's basically all we had. Yeah. So, and that started it all.
John, what was going through your mind when he asked you about that? What were some of the things you were weighing at the time?
At the time, it was in the period of time where me and my wife were divorced.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time by myself. I'm like, well, I love making music. Yeah. And I thought this might be a good thing for me. Yeah. So I'm not just cooped up at home, because I was working a lot, and I get my kids every other weekend. But other than that, I wasn't doing a lot. Yeah. And I thought this is going to be good, because I've always liked doing music with Bryan.
Yeah.
And so it just happened. I had drums. Yeah. I had a guitar and an amp he could use. And we didn't know how to record anything properly. I've done sound at our church and stuff like that, so I knew about mixing and EQing and all that stuff. But I had never done any more recording than like an old tape 4-track.
You want to tell them about the BR? The BR8?
Yeah, we started using a Boss BR8. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I don't think so. No.
It works like a 4-track recorder. Uh-huh. I think it had 8 that we could use at one time.
Okay. And it's digital.
Okay.
But it was kind of antiquated, which we didn't know. We just bought it because it was cheap and we could record with it.
Right.
And, we were unfamiliar with the DAWs and doing it with computer.
Yeah.
And once we were getting into it, like, this isn't going to work reproducing very well.
Yeah.
So we finally got a laptop, and it was kind of underpowered, but we made it work.
Yep.
And those tracks, I had to get them onto the computer, and I couldn't just send them there. So I had the BPM didn't match. It was a nightmare. So I'm listening to it and trying to line up the BPM on our digital audio workstation with the one in this machine that's not perfectly on. And so some of those tracks, like his guitar solos, were kind of one of a kind. And so I had to figure it out so we could use that stuff. And we recorded a lot of it. But some of it, he was like, I don't remember what I did. You know how that goes sometimes. And so it was painstaking. But once we got the structure back on those songs on the computer and digital audio workstation, then we could add all the rest back and re-record it, and it was way better.
And that's why this album took 4 years.
Yeah, it spent 4 years recording that.
The first album, that's Shine the Light, right?
Yep.
From 2020.
The thing about this is, if people can see that is a tunnel in Holland, Michigan. It's a state park, Tunnel Park.
Oh, really?
And a friend from church had these pictures on Facebook, and I'm like, that's got to be an album cover.
Yeah.
Because they caught the sun going right through. There's no Photoshop on that. That's their daughter inside the tunnel with the sun coming through.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
So on the back, we shifted the picture over, and there she is. Doesn't it look like she was posing for an album cover?
Yes, it does.
So they were divorced, so I had to wait 36 and a half minutes for permission to use that. Yes, I was watching the clock because she goes, I got to call my ex-husband because it's our daughter.
Right.
And make sure. And you can't tell who she is, so I guess that's why they let me.
Yeah, probably.
But that just came out. This is awesome.
Wow.
I love the color. Yeah, it's really neat.
That is really cool. Very awesome. I love that album cover.
A lot of hard work. Yep, sorry.
No,
There's a lot of hard work and sweat and tears in this thing. So
yeah, well,
4 years.
Let's talk about that. This first album, Shine the Light, came out July of 2020. You know, what went into putting that album together? Y'all's first album, and then maybe as part of this question too, talk a little bit about, you know, y'all's chemistry as you were, you know, doing this album too.
It was a lot of fun, and he's always had a gift for coming up with lyrics and hooks and things.
Yeah.
But I always joke around that I got to keep him honest because he might not have it timed right or something. I'm like, oh no, we got to redo this, you know?
Yeah.
And we went through it, and it was always a fun process for us.
Yeah.
We never butt heads. Never any problems like that.
I can't play to a click track. I'm getting better at it, but we use it when we record. He just finds a drum beat, and I'm like, oh, that's better.
Nice.
And I play the click track at the same time.
But now I can tune the click track out because there's something that goes click it. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. Right.
So the thing is bouncing around inside my head, but then when he puts the computerized drum, boom, 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 I'm like, oh, I can do that.
Ah, there you go.
Before we recorded this, I had my other band called Otherwise Broken. We didn't record. We played live. And so when you're playing live, you think everything's right on time. It's not.
It's all over the place live.
I mean, it sounded okay, but when you put a click track, you know, it's so like a surgery.
Yeah. It's an interesting analogy. We Are Resolute is kind of the opposite then of your previous band because that was live, and you guys right now are just really more of a studio band at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Completely.
Well, that was kind of pushed by COVID.
Yeah.
And then Dale Thompson put a ad on Facebook, vocalist for hire, and I'm like, are you kidding me? One of my top favorite 5 bands in the world. Yeah. So I'm all over that.
Yeah.
He actually rejected it twice. Not because we were bad, but he didn't think his style would fit our music. And I'm like, I know it will, because I'll write it with his voice in mind.
Yeah.
You know, so he actually did us, and then he said that my melodies are like Ozzy Osbourne, how I write.
Wow.
And so he loves my melodic style.
Yeah.
I'm like, sweet. John, guess what Dale just said?
So
he said as long as I'm writing and we're producing music, he'll be our vocalist. I'm like, awesome.
That's very cool. And you just approached him because he was advertising his vocal talent.
Yep.
And you guys reached out to him.
I saw that thing as soon as I saw that thing on Facebook, I went like this, but I can only go like this. So I kind of exaggerated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was all over that, and then I wouldn't let him go. I mean, I'm like, you got to do it.
Well, how did that process work with two of you guys, like in a local, I know obviously the remote things. Talk a little bit about how that worked creatively and musically, working with Dale, who probably was in New Zealand at the time, I assume, when you first started recording. So how was that collaborative process between the three of you? How did that work?
We first sent him a sample of the song just to try to get him on board, and that was pretty much Bryan saying, "Hey, check this out," and he sent him a couple songs. But once he decided, yeah, we'll do something, then obviously we're sending him the tracks and all the data that goes with the timing and stuff, so he can lay down his vocals. And we're new at this, right? So he sends us our first song. I'm like, cool, he's gonna do this. We're gonna get a vocal track. He sent us like 8 tracks. I'm like, Bryan, send me 8 tracks. We're supposed to do with 8 tracks.
He goes, Bryan, come here, look at this. I'm like, what? He gave us 8 tracks. I'm like, what are we gonna do with that? And John goes, I don't know.
So I was not expecting that. I thought we might have like a vocal and maybe a backup with it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's first time for either of us.
Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah, only 6 this time, But yeah, he gives us so many layers, and he'll be doing something way up in the and then he'll be just rumbling something down below, and then there's one song. This part,
I was just gonna say that. Go ahead.
He does something, and it sounds like a cat in the background going, "Hey!" But when you blend them all together, it's just cool. But how did he even think of doing that?
Wasn't that the Almighty? Because it sounds like my guitar going. Wee! I'm like, I didn't play that. He goes, no, check this out. This and he what do you call it?
Isolated the one track.
Isolated the one track, and it was actually Dale's voice sounded like a guitar doing a wee.
It's interesting you mentioned the Almighty. That might be the one. I was just listening to that earlier today, and now that you talk about that sound and everything, I think that might be the one, actually.
It just gave me goosebumps, I'm like,
yeah.
So that's not me on guitar. That's Dale's voice.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
You should get hired out to do like car alarms or something.
He does have so much.
If they pay him for it.
Yeah, really. He's got such a great variety of I don't know if you want to say nuance or style or anything, but he's just I love the sounds he comes up with. I think that's one of the coolest things.
Heavy metal or bluegrass, the whole gamut, he can do it.
Well, here's an interesting thing fans of Dale might like.
Yeah.
He might not like this part, but I've become a better singer, even though John, well, he thinks so too, but I've been singing more on our albums. But from the beginning, we didn't have anybody singing, so I had to do the vocals to give Dale the idea or the concept of what I wanted.
Yeah.
So there were a couple songs I sound like a dying cat. So I would tell Dale, I sound horrible here, but you get the idea.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And I'd even fake some high screams so he'd know that that's what I want him to do in that section.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. So he didn't care about mine not being perfect.
Yeah.
It gave him the concept. And I'm telling you, there's only been one thing that he goofed up on, and he was very gracious and fixed it right away. He just said the wrong lyrics in a portion of a song.
Yeah.
We asked him about it, and then within an hour, not even, he sent it to us, and we're like, thank you.
Wow.
And you can't even tell.
That's
just
cool.
The technology is so cool.
That really has allowed you all to be a band with his distance and then being able to record stuff like that. So he's given good feedback. Has he provided any? Has he collaborated on the music at all, or is he pretty much stuck to the vocal and allowed you guys to manage that part of it? How has that been?
I forget which song it is. He said, hey, Bryan, if you can put, it's something about you're standing on holy ground is what he told me to put. And it's way better than the line that I had. He goes, you don't have to give me any writing credit for that. Just, I think this is better. And I'm like, yeah, that's way better, dude.
That's nice.
So he's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man, when I've got a concept, to me, it's like an 8.5.
Yeah.
And he takes it up to 11.
Wow.
So we don't tell him what to do. We just send him one with my vocals and my main concept.
Yeah.
And we send him one without my vocals, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we just say, do your thing.
The most freeing parts of the creative process when you collaborate is to allow everybody to just kind of have some room to really work. And especially somebody like Dale, who's got so much experience, of course, that he can bring to the table. So that's really cool. So shine the light. Any songs in particular that stand out for y'all from that first album, putting that together, and songs that for you, looking back now, that was 2020, right? Yeah, 2020. That stand out for you even today. What are some favorite songs that you guys did off that album?
The very first one for me, I would have to say, is Chasing Shadows, the second song.
Okay,
it's because it's the first real song that even John noticed that my creative writing was starting to get better.
Yeah.
Instead of, Jesus loves you, you're going to die.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Christian rock from early on, that's basically,
yeah,
became more creative in the writing, still not going away from the message of the gospel,
right,
but being more creative and visual,
yeah,
so people can listen to it and visualize it in their mind instead of just a regular, status quo.
Right.
And then I know I'll save the one song because I know he wants to talk about it. For me, oh man, why I love the song "Why I Cry," and we, as Otherwise Broken, we would always end our shows with that song because it was a pretty heavy hitter.
Yeah. So
on each album, we tried to do at least one song from Otherwise Broken because we had some decent songs, just we didn't perform them very well. And so John and I can go with the technology and really give these things what they deserve, And then the other one, we made a fun video, Mad at God.
I have not watched that one yet. I've listened to the song, but I haven't watched the video yet.
If you go to our YouTube channel, We Are Resolute. Yeah, we Are Resolute War Ministries on YouTube.
Yeah.
This one's really fun. Can I tell you the story about what happened when we recorded it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a thunderstorm going on, and he lived in a trailer.
Yeah.
So you know how loud that can be in there.
Yeah.
And he had a dog. What was the dog's name again? Nala was the little dog. What kind of dog is it?
She was a lab shepherd mix.
A lab shepherd mix.
Nice.
Okay, so we were listening to a portion of the song, and we heard this squeak, and like, hey, what was that? Replay that. And he goes, oh, that's my chair. His chair moved.
It had like an office chair, and it turned and it went squeak. When I turned it, when we were recording.
And so I thought, that sounds like a door opening. And, Mad at God is about my interactions with non-believers, specifically atheists.
Okay.
And then maybe people that come to your door and knock. So I thought, hey, what if we do it like there's a canvassing going on? I'll go outside. I'll knock on the door.
Yeah.
Well, Nala started barking while we were recording it. Mm-hmm. And it worked out perfect. So the dog is famous. And we put the microphone out on the porch.
Yeah.
Because it was raining so hard. And there was what's it called?
The eave. It was running off the eave. It was just downpour. It was raining buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we set the microphone outdoors under the eave, and it was just the rain that you hear in the beginning of that song. It's real rain. It's happening outside. I was surprised we didn't lose power that night.
I know. So have me knocking on the door and the dog barking, and then we open the door and you hear that squeak. And I said, hey, we're canvassing the area to see if we can start a Bible study. And then John says, nah, I'm mad at God. And then the door shuts, boom. And Rex Carroll did the mixing on that song, and he made a really cool echo of that door. And so it was kind of for us, a massive production for the intro.
And how'd you do that video too? Because it's kind of got like graphic or animation style to it. How'd you develop that?
I did that because when you put stuff on DistroKid, you have to have different pictures for singles.
Yeah.
So I went through each song and made them. And my daughter, I took a picture of, and she looked like a superhero.
Yeah.
Like a comic. I used a filter on my phone.
Right.
So I was like, ooh, that was cool. So I started doing that, and I did Mad at God like a comic book.
Yeah. It's got a cool.
And then I asked Dale, if he would, in New Zealand, video himself singing. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll do that for you. And so it just worked out. Everything worked out good, and that just came out really sweet.
That's awesome.
I think, anyway.
Yeah, I was just looking at it now. It looks really cool. I'm going to have to watch the whole thing offline here. But
it took a while to make.
Yeah, I bet so.
Yeah, I make most of our videos, except for when you see Cruise effects. That would be Dave Cruz.
Yep. I know Dave. He's a good guy.
So he does a good job, too.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't say Cruise effects, then that means I made the video.
Yeah, okay. So. Very, very cool. All right, John, what about your songs off of that first album?
My favorite one is Crazy, but these are all special to me. Mad at God is really cool.
Yeah.
Because I love what Dale did on that one.
Yeah.
But Crazy was another Eyes Broken song.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I wasn't with their band.
Yeah.
And they needed someone to make sound for them. I'm like, yeah, I can help you out. It was the first time I heard them play that song.
Yeah.
And it was really short. And it was really, 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 really fast. I'm like, holy cow. But the song is awesome. It had a good hook. It was just laid out so good.
Yeah.
And Bryan says, I think we should use this song. I said, can I run with this song? Kind of do my own thing with it. So I laid out the guitars. I did all the bass. I did bass on the whole album.
Oh, yeah, I want to interrupt him.
Yeah.
He just said it. The bass playing,
Yeah.
that's him.
Wow. Off of the first album? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. On that song Crazy, I did all the guitar work except for the guitar solo in the middle and at the end. The intro soloing, I did that too.
Yeah. Wow.
I do a little guitar here and there on all of them, but
Yeah.
it's mainly Bryan. But on that particular song, I just did my own thing. It went from barely being 3 minutes long to almost being 5.5 minutes long. And I don't remember if we changed the key. I don't remember anymore. But
it's way better now.
It's way better now. And at the end of it, it was like an instrumental. And Dale, just out of the blue, he ad-libbed on the whole end of that thing. And we're like, wow, it's perfect.
Yep.
And we didn't ask him to do that. He's just like, if you don't like it, don't use it. I just thought it sounded cool.
It does.
Yeah, we're leaving it.
Love it. Have you guys actually ever met Dale, or has it all strictly just been remote so far?
Remote, and I've done some video conference calls with him.
Okay. Isn't that wild? We live in a world where you can pretty much just get to know somebody remotely.
Well, about a year or two ago, Dale messaged me,
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger, and said, Bryan, we've really bonded in a good friendship over the years.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you collaborate on a project together that you're putting blood, sweat, and tears into, like an album. I mean, that's phenomenal. Was there a particular theme you had in mind? I'm always interested in the creative process because I like to talk about creativity. Was there a particular theme you had in mind going into that first album? I know it's Shine the Light, but was there, something specific you wanted to communicate, or was that just more so, this collection of songs and that seemed like an appropriate title for them? How did that develop?
It's a collection of songs on one hand, but then the reason why I wrote Shine the Light was because of that cover.
That photo. Yeah.
But the gospel is the theme because it starts off with a banger called Inside. Because what is on the inside is going to come out, the Bible says. So your fruits are going to be known by what you say and how you live your life.
So true.
And then chasing shadows, we're always chasing things that we'll never be able to catch.
Yeah.
People think we're crazy because we believe in an unseen God.
Right.
Shine the light. So through all of our life, we have to be a light that shines Christ. And then our first song that Dale ever did for us, and a lot of people don't know this, is Your Enemy.
I love that song.
And it was supposed to be a single because, and this is the part that people don't know.
Yeah.
I actually was on the phone 3 or 4 times with Scott Wenzel of Whitecross.
Yeah.
And he was going to be our vocalist. But he lives down in Tennessee, from what I remember, and he's not up to speed on this communication through internet and stuff.
Right.
So logistically, it wasn't going to work. And I was brokenhearted when I had to tell him. But we both agreed we're looking for God's will on this. And so when Dale did this and we heard it and we had to pick our jaws up off the ground. So then it wasn't like, oh, I'm Bryan, I can have any singer I want and shove Scott to the side. That's not, I prayed about it and I had a good conversation with Scott Wenzel about it.
Yeah.
Because I really am a fan of Scott Wenzel. So
yeah. Oh, he's
but
awesome.
Dale Thompson's sitting there and he did Your Enemy. And that song, wow, that's the one to eight things, right?
Yeah, we're like, holy cow, look what it gave us. What do we do with that?
So when I knew that it wasn't God's will for Scott Wenzel and us to collaborate, I was like, Dale, will you do this? And so, like I said, on the third time, he said yes.
Wow, that's fabulous.
So and then you got song number 6 is Don't Listen, because the devil is trying to tell you stuff like they did Adam and Eve.
Right.
Just don't listen to him. Trust God.
Yeah.
Then Mad at God's about talking to atheists, people don't believe. Kingdom of Heaven is just a really good ballad.
Yeah.
And then the song that I didn't think anybody would like is We Will See Him. acoustic driven.
Yes.
But have you heard the song?
Yep, I've heard all the first album for sure. Yep.
Okay, so what did you think about We Will See Him?
I liked it. I like it a lot. I liked the whole first album, really. I know. I think somewhere you had commented about, it was our first stab. It was an early effort, but I think it comes together really well. I like it, and I like that acoustic song. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, I just interviewed you.
Yeah, exactly. Let's jump ahead to your sophomore album, Only Human, came out in 2022. What off of that album? Yeah, there we go. Talk a little bit about the album cover on this too, and how that came about, and was there a theme on this album? Similar type questions. What was this album like developing?
This is my daughter.
Yeah,
Lydia.
Okay.
She did all the keyboards on this album at the age of 14.
Oh my gosh!
So you hear all the keyboards. She did that. I'm so proud of her.
Now, is she the one? Sorry to interrupt, but is she the one that sings on track 9?
Yes.
Who I Am?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And Benjamin Birdsong from the band The Birdsongs. Have you heard of them?
I have heard of them. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I looked them up.
Yeah, they're really cool. Nice. When he sent me at no cost, he said, "You advertise us all the time, Bryan. Just take this for free." I'm like, sweet. When I heard him and my daughter singing, I literally had tears.
I bet.
And I could start crying out.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
So
the theme, obviously, is the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Because once she took a bite of the fruit,
yeah,
which I don't believe it was an apple, but that's a whole nother
right,
thing.
Yeah.
But everybody associates with that.
Yeah.
And then you got the serpent here.
Yeah.
Nope, my daughter was not harmed in the making of this album cover.
That's good. Thanks for that disclaimer.
Yep. It starts off with a real banger, The Almighty.
Yes, I love that intro on that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Hey, funny story. When I had to tell Dale this, somebody put a video up online about Dale's vocal abilities and put a bunch of songs, and they put The Almighty on there and said Dale's voice went to this octave or whatever it said, but it wasn't Dale. I did the higher end. He did the lower end, and then my friend Jake Woodbury, who did bass on "Deck the Halls" on our for the Roxx Records.
Yep, Christmas compilation. Yep, I've got that.
I don't know what it's called, but there's a little box, and it's all computer stuff, and you have a little keyboard on it. Well, he made those angel sounds. So we put our voices to the angel sounds, and that guy thought that was Dale Thompson doing it, but nope, it was us. So thank you.
I love it.
It means we're awesome. I'm kidding.
Very cool.
Light of Day was an Otherwise Broken song, and I've always liked it, but I never liked how we did it. And so have you heard of Chaz Bond?
Yes. I know. Didn't he perform with Perpetual Paranoia, or did at least a song from...
He's from BioGenesis.
BioGenesis.
I don't know what.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did the vocals on Light of Day, the second track.
Oh, nice.
And then a lot of these songs are from the trials I've been going through. And so The Waves, it's basically from the story of Peter walking on the waves and had to been like bashing him. And then he took his eyes off Christ and sank, but then God raised him back up from the waters. So that's what we do, right? We fall, get back up again, right?
That one reminds me, tell me if I'm off on this. That reminds me like of a little Alice in Chains, musically, Alice in Chains. Was there any intentional stylistic to kind of lean towards that? Okay.
I've never even heard a song of theirs unless I accidentally heard it in the movie.
Okay. Then maybe that's just me bringing that to the table, but that reminded me of that.
No, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Then Only Human is specific to some things that were happening in my life. And then You Love Me is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. We have a video on our YouTube channel for that one. And I did all the animation.
Why is that your favorite? What connects you on that so much?
The love of Christ. We just had the Resurrection Sunday. And so I posted that again because that song, Dale Thompson said, powerful. And then number 6, Heaven, is my wife wrote a poem about her mom that died. Yeah. And so I dedicated this album to her mom. So there's a picture of my mother-in-law in there. Nice. I was like, this has got to be a song. So let's say the poem's this long. Yeah. I had to shrink it down.
Yeah.
And God allowed me to get all the major points without it being repetitious and stuff. And it's a really beautiful song. Nice. And on our podcast that I do with Paul Onart called Road Less Traveled.
Yeah, tell me about that.
We're going to have a guy named Robert Scott come on, and he's a big We Are Resolute fan.
Yeah.
So hi, Scott. Robert Scott. His dad was dying.
Yeah.
And so before the song was even finished on here, I sent him a copy unfinished and Kingdom of Heaven and to play at his dad's bed. And he said that the whole family was around his dad's bed and they were all blessed by the music. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
A couple weeks later, his dad died.
Oh my gosh.
And so then Robert asked me, hey, Bryan, can I read the lyrics to Heaven at my dad's funeral?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
That's what we do this for.
Yeah.
So that song has a good, I mean, I was starting to tear up, you know.
Yeah, no kidding. That's powerful.
My one album, my mother-in-law dies, and then the next album, my wife dies. So there's a dedication to my mother-in-law and then my wife.
Yeah.
Thinking of heaven and death and stuff made me think of the song Out of Time. You're running out of time. So all these songs have a real good meaning for me specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that my pain that I've been going through can help others.
Yeah.
And that's why I've got to do this for the Lord. It's not about pride. If that happens, then I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the next song is called Fear, and it's about the things that I've been going through between my own ears.
Yeah.
And it's hard for, especially a man, to admit that we're afraid.
Right.
So I hope that that song would give somebody the courage to stand up against the fear, the attacks of Satan and the flesh and all that.
I can tell that's a powerful song. That's one of my favorite tracks off of Only Human. There's something about Dale's vocals, y'all's music. It just seems to all really combine really well. I love that track. It's powerful.
Cool. And then we already talked about Who I Am, but I wrote that for my daughter because she was having trouble with peer pressure. And I was telling her, you have to live for the Lord and for yourself with Jesus. Don't let the outside world make you think you're less than you are. And so if you listen to the lyrics, that's what that's all about. And then 3 days later, Michael Feighan, the Whitecross drummer, did the drums on 3 days later. And my daughter did a kick butt keyboard thing on there. She did really good. And then the last song, I sing it. So it's the first time I've ever been recorded singing and put it out. It's called Jesus. And it's short, it's acoustic, and it's about my pain and suffering and who we should focus on. Because it's really easy to be like Peter was in that one story. But I got to give Peter credit. He's the only one that jumped off the boat.
Yeah. He attempted to walk on the water, right? Yeah.
Yep. Well, he did it.
Yeah.
He walked on it.
That's true. Yeah.
I always tell people, look, everybody focuses on Peter messing up.
Right.
But he also didn't mess up.
Yeah.
Everybody else was cowering on that boat.
Yeah.
He's the only one that said, Lord, can I come out there? He knew logically that you can't walk on water, but he knew who he was looking at.
That's right. He had faith. He kept his eyes on Christ. It's when he took his eyes off. That's when things went sour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That second album in particular is kind of like a little bit of an all-star album, I guess you could say, because you've got a lot of different talents. How did that kind of come about? Was that something, again, you guys set out intentionally to do, or was it something that just kind of developed as you were putting the album together?
Well, we were looking for a bass player, and I was trying to get Timothy Gaines, but I just couldn't find a way to contact him at the time.
Yeah. So
I was telling Dale about it, and Dale goes, I just got off the phone with Tracy Ferrie, and he said he'd be willing to talk to you. I'm like, give me the number.
Done deal.
Yes, I really love his bass play. What do you think, John?
Oh, amazing. I love his runs. Everything is clean. I mean, some you hear the squeak, squeak, squeak. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
that's awesome.
You know, it's smooth. His tone is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't praise his quality of sound.
You mentioned earlier a little bit about Tracy too, personality wise. I don't think a lot of people know Tracy really well. So tell a little bit about what he was like, to work with and communicate with.
Oh, he just sent me a couple messages going, I can't believe how much you and I believe the same stuff politically, religiously.
Yeah.
And so he's just like really cool, down to earth. He's called me 3 or 4 times on his way to church because I think he's a music pastor.
Oh, okay.
At his church.
Yeah.
Really down to earth. I really appreciate having him as a friend.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Dale, so it's natural. You know, you got to have Troy in the mix at some point. And was it really the second album that Troy kind of stepped into the mix?
He did the cello.
The cello, yeah, that's right.
On the song Heaven.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's all he did on this album.
I think that's all he did on that one, yeah.
That song with the cello on it, I had a guitar solo already recorded.
Yeah.
And I looked at John, and you know, I'm a guitar player.
Yeah.
I want to be there doing the stuff, but I'm like, this song is not good with that guitar solo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Dale and see if Troy can do something. And he's like, I could put a cello on there. I'm like, ooh. And it really made that song. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like one little cello part. He did a couple layers in there.
Yeah.
I mean, some harmonies and stuff. I want to say it was probably 3 different tracks.
So then in, what was it, 2023, you released Fallen Angel. Yeah. And so what was that album like putting together? Again, it seems like you guys just kind of keep building album by album. Fallen Angel, where did that title come from? And you know, why did you pick that title for this particular album?
That's a good question, because the only answer I can give you, if you go down to track number 3, it's called Holy Ghost Writer.
Uh-huh.
I was on the Wild Man and Steve podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of Wild Man and Steve. Okay.
I don't think I have.
And they asked me a question. How do you come up with your songs? Do you do the music first? Do you do the lyrics first? How do you do it? And so I was trying to explain to him that it's kind of like I have a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
But I go, wait a minute, it's the Holy Ghost Writer. And so then later on, I was telling my brother, he was in Florida then, but they're in Georgia now.
Yeah.
I was telling him the story. He goes, you ought to write a song about it. And I'm like, wait a minute. You said I should write a song about God being my ghostwriter. And so I got to ask him to help me write a song about writing a song. So what it's really meaning, I'm being goofy, but what it's really saying is, let's say I play Xbox a lot.
Yeah.
I play a lot of video games.
Yeah.
So I'll be playing, and all of a sudden I know it's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
He goes, shut this off and go pick up your guitar. I don't have a tune in mind. I don't have any lyrics. I'll sit down, get everything all set up, start messing with chords. I'm like, ooh. And then all of a sudden a topic, just a real quick thought. Maybe let's say it's, I'll never walk away from God no matter what happens. And then that's the first track on this album is Don't Walk Away. So then it just builds. And by the time I can get myself to play the song from the beginning to the end enough, and yes, out of time, out of timing.
Maybe not.
Sometimes, most of the time, it's just a crappy recording, but it's enough to keep the idea alive.
Yeah. Because
I don't know if you write at all.
Yeah.
But let's say you're somewhere, the grocery store, you get an idea, but you don't have anywhere to write it down. You get home, and you're like, oh, I forgot it. So if I have something that I think might be good, I real quick get my phone out, either do a video or I have an app on there that has like a 4-track recorder digital thing, and I'll just put it down, like I'll sing it, hum it, whatever I need to do to remember. And so then once I get a decent enough copy to get the concept, I show him. And he's like, ooh, I think we can do something. And so what he likes to do, I hate to do. And what I do, he doesn't really care to do. So it's like the perfect musical marriage.
Yeah, you guys are good collaboration then, for sure. Good teamwork. That's awesome.
I would have to agree.
Yeah. It's great when it works out that way. You know, it's not like I don't know, like a Pink Floyd where you got two lead guys that, you know, end up, blocking heads all the time.
Or the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's another good example. Yeah.
The thing, Tim, is I've had in other bands where there's conflict and different ideas of what should be being done, we're on the same wavelength. I mean, we might be like, I think this, he thinks this, or it might be shift, but we're pretty close to what we want to do. And I totally respect his experience. And I've always been trying to learn different things. And so if he's teaching me something, because like I said, he said if I buy a guitar, he'll show me a couple of things. And here we are 4 albums in. You know?
Right, exactly.
I'm no guitar player, but I just dabble.
Now, Fallen Angel, The Fight, is that the first instrumental on your albums?
Yes. I've always wanted, since we've started doing this, I was like, John, we got to do an instrumental.
Yeah.
So yeah, The Fight is the first one that we've ever done.
I like that one too. That's a cool song.
And you're gonna like Mind Control on this new album, because I put everything that I've learned, every little tiny move, I tried to fit into this song. So I'm like really excited because I haven't had any training. I started playing guitar when I was 35. And so to actually doing real solos wasn't until I was like, 38 or 39?
Probably.
Because the guys that I had in the band didn't want soloing for some reason. It's kind of like that age of music where it was more like that grungy stuff with no solos.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, my brain got all tight. I'm like, no solos.
Yeah. Can't comprehend that. Well,
so yeah, I think you'll like that.
Since you brought up that, let's talk about, because this is really exciting thing. You guys have a new album coming out this year titled Full Armor. Tell me about it. What's this album? There we go. Look at that.
There's the shirt.
I love it.
That's the album cover too.
That is the album cover. Sweet.
Yes.
So again, let me lead
Except
off.
for it won't be backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So does that title tie into the theme of the album? I would assume it does. Or is it, again, just a little more general? Tell me a little bit about that. And then let's talk about a couple songs here too, including that title song, Full Armor. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we're in a spiritual war. So we're war, and we are resolute in our faith. That's where the band name comes from. And I was in a room and I was staring at the ceiling and it had chipped paint. And I was going through something pretty dramatic. And I said, I've got to put on the full armor of God so I can make it through this. And in the chipped paint, you know how you can see things in the clouds? I literally saw a soldier with a sword and a shield and armor. And I was like, ooh. So when I was able to get to a place where I could draw it out, hey, let me get that real quick. It's just right over here.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
The reason why this is so cool is Raphael Traveris Grip.
Yes.
Is an art. Okay. He did this artwork. Now I'm going to show you what he did it from. Okay. I'm a cartoonist and a graphic artist. I've done all of our album covers.
Oh, fabulous.
Except for this one.
Except for this one.
And Raphael has done the new Bride album too, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I told him, I go, you know what? I want this next one to be really good.
Yeah.
Here it is. I don't know if is it going to be able to. Yeah. Okay. So that's the front cover concept.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little blocky here on my end, but can you describe it a little bit? What's going on, just in case?
There's a soldier kneeling.
Yeah.
And he's kind of resting while there's a battle going on in the background.
Okay. Yeah.
With bombs and stuff blowing up or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you've got the shield with the "We Are Resolute" laying at his feet.
Wow.
So he's kind of resting and kind of praying and trying to regather himself. And so then that's why you have what he did.
Oh, very cool.
So he's got God watching over him when the sun beams.
Yeah.
That would be like me going, "Oh my Lord, I need you. Help me."
Yeah.
Because there's a battle going on.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. And I like how he took my advice and put that on there.
That's really cool.
So that's the front cover. And this ends up being the back. There, it's clear now, right?
A little bit. Still a little blocky on my end. Maybe just describe it a little bit. Is it the sword?
So it's just the sword shoved into the ground.
Yeah.
And then you'll see on the back of the CD cover, you'll see all of the war going on in the background.
Oh, wow.
Then the CD itself will look similar to that. It's got a shield with the stuff going on. So he did an awesome job considering what I showed him.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I think we'll play a quick little clip of the song Full Armor. Is there anything you want to say about that to intro the music of that?
It just rocks.
That sounds awesome. So let's take a quick little listen to Full Armor from the new album. that was Full Armor. That song does rock. And that is the title track off the new album, We Are Resolute album, Full Armor, coming out when? Actually, when will the album be releasing?
May 30th.
May 30th, 2025. And that's on Roxx Records, correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And that's, you've done all your albums through, correct, as Roxx Records?
Yes.
Well, let's move on to another little sample track here that you have provided us too. Thunder of God. Tell me a little bit about that song.
I read the Bible every night, at least one chapter, and I've done that for 5 years. So I encourage everybody to do that. I always encourage people, get the word of God in your heart, in your mind.
Amen.
So I was reading it somewhere, was it Revelation? It's been a while. And it talked about the lyrics are basically not took license, but I repictured it in my own words straight from the Bible. And it's about the law of God can't save us. That's why Jesus had to come, because the law, what it does is actually expose us. So thunder of God, it's the hammer of death. And people don't realize we cannot work our way to God. So that's what it's about. And it hits. And there's a video, you can go to Roxx Records and check out Thunder of God.
We're going to cut to Thunder of God real quick, also off of the new album Full Armor here. Let's take a listen to Thunder of God off of Full Armor. We Are Resolute. All right, so that was Thunder of God by We Are Resolute off of their new upcoming album, Full Armor. everyone needs to definitely pick that up. I will put a link in the description down below, or update it when the album comes out, so y'all can access it there as well and get your copy for sure. What about this album, your guys' fourth album, what is most exciting for y'all about this album? Again, I get the sense you guys just have kept building. Is this going to be the best We Are Resolute album yet?
I think I'll trust Dale, his opinion, because he told us, hey, fellas, this is our best collection of songs to date. And then Bill Bafford of Roxx Records messaged me just the other day and said, I just finished listening through all the songs. You guys just keep getting better. I'm like, now this is from other people. That's not from us.
Right. That's
we think so.
Those are good testimonial statements right there. That is phenomenal. Is this coming out on CD and vinyl? Just CD? What's the story there as far as release formats?
Just CD, and then probably, I don't know, within a month I'll put it up on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, excellent.
Through DistroKid.
Yeah. As We Are Resolute, are you guys just getting started?
Well, when remember the story that we were talking about earlier about how I was praying if I was supposed to do music or not?
Yeah.
Well, John and I said we're going to keep on making CDs until God says no more.
Right.
So we've already got 8 songs, already started the recording process for the next album.
All right. That's what I like to hear. More to come. Now, what about the performance aspect? Do you guys, ever has aspirations of playing like Immortal Fest or anything like that, or doing some live shows yet? What's your thought process on that moving into the future?
It would be cool to do it, but at this point, it would be kind of tough, just with where everybody's located and being able to make that happen, I think would be a little bit difficult.
Now, if God does one day say, "Hey, you need to do this," Chaz Bond has already agreed, if it works out, that he would front us live. Because Dale just can't do it, because I asked him if he would, but he's got Bride, and then by then his voice would be all. It's just too much to do, like 2 sets at one time.
I'm just excited. I mean, y'all are a really cool band. I love the lyrics. I love your spiritual themes. I love your content. I love the music. I mean, you guys gel well. You're a very cool team, which I think is just an awesome highlight. Dale, of course, is a great part of that too. And I just think it's such a unique combination of talents that We Are Resolute has. And I just look forward to this new album. All right, guys, Bryan, John, why do y'all do this? Why is We Are Resolute exist? What keeps you guys going in the band and in doing what you do?
I'll start off with real quick. It's all about God and getting the word out, because people need the Lord. And John is the one that always said it, but we both say it too, is
if we bring just one person to God, our prayers will be answered. There was one night we were playing a show in a church long time ago, and when that was all done, the pastor came and says, "Hey, someone came and committed their life to the Lord tonight." And I said to him, "Cool, we're done." I said, "Just one person. We did our job." I said, "We did our job. We go home now."
That's too cool.
So, and I know it's been a lot more since that. One at a time.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you guys have the right perspective on that for sure. For each of your albums, the message is really very clear, which I respect a great deal. And, I'm glad to hear, as you guys have talked today too, just the sincerity and the clarity of your biblical message too, that you work into your songs too. That's beautiful. Added to the fact that, of course, it's just great rocking music too. So
hey, real quick, can I show the people some of the merchandise they can get at anchormerchandising.com?
Please do. Let's see what you got.
This hat is not available anymore, so sorry about that, but it's my favorite hat. But this one is still available.
Nice.
That I know of.
Yeah.
Then obviously, if you go to Roxx Records, you can get Shine the Light.
Yeah.
Only Human. And Fallen Angel. And soon, I think next week, Bill said the pre-orders begin for Full Armor.
Excellent. Okay, and I will put that link in the description for sure.
So Anchor Merchandising, Anthony Gober is really good. This is the song Thunder of God.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted was like a concert-looking T-shirt, so I had him put the lyrics on the back.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's really
Me too.
because you're standing in line at the grocery store and people behind you can be reading the lyrics.
Exactly.
I love that.
So this is I designed this also
That's awesome.
for the Fallen Angel.
Fallen Angel. That's the front cover art.
So then this was the very first logo that Raphael showed me, and it looks pretty cool. It's got the battle going on inside, and it's a different color of the logo. And I'm like, well, it's not like I didn't get really excited about it, but it is cool. So then I said, can you make it look like a concert shirt and put all the song titles from the album on there?
Oh, sweet. Now that's
Isn't that cool?
I like that. Y'all have some great
And then
shirts.
you see that logo?
Yeah.
The W?
Yeah.
I was like, I really like that. And then he disappeared for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did I make him mad or something? And then, I don't have the shirt with me. It must be dirty. But he put "We Are Resolute" in the circles.
Oh, nice.
And gave it to me for free.
Cool.
So, and I wear it to the grocery store and stuff, and people are like, "Hey, cool shirt." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, nice.
This one's a little worn because it's from 2020.
Oh, look at that. The original
Shine the light.
first album. Yep. Very cool.
And all of these are on anchormerchandising.com. So this is when I started playing around with the stuff on the back. So I put "We're Only Human." And then this is the last one. It's just a regular T-shirt. And you can tell I wore it to death. So those are the things you can buy still at anchormerchandising.com.
And I'll put a link and I'll put it up on screen too. Roxx Records has the CDs, Anchor Merchandising has the t-shirts and hats. So
Yes,
I encourage everybody to go there, pick theirs up. I might have to go get one so I can wear it on the show on occasion as well too. That'd be awesome.
This looks just so cool.
I love that. Actually, is really very cool. Well, hey, listen, Bryan, John, it is so good to have had you on today and to be able to chat about We Are Resolute, about faith, about music. This has just been really cool. I've really enjoyed chatting with y'all.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, no, this has been great. I've enjoyed listening to more of your music in preparation for this interview too, which has just gotten me into y'all even more. So I'm going to have to explain it to my wife because I'm going to break the bank and have to buy some more CDs and albums. So, but no, y'all have been awesome. Love talking to y'all. Obviously, great men of faith. You've lived some life. You've had some journeys, obviously, behind you. I know, it has that great verse from Isaiah, by his stripes we are healed, that has built you into the men of God that you are, that the struggles and journeys that you've been through certainly have helped to make you to be these men of faith that now are, preaching the gospel in various ways. One of them certainly being through We Are Resolute. So I'm looking forward to the new album, and I can't wait to see what y'all do next as well too. So God bless and thank you all for being on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Take care. God bless.